Okay. Hello and welcome to Verbling. I'm Teacher Oakley. Hi there. Today we're going to continue to look at perfect tenses. Yesterday at this time slot we examined the present perfect tense. Today we'll look at past perfect, and tomorrow we'll continue at this same time slot here at Verbling and look at future perfect tense. Today we'll be taking a look into the past and talk about how the past perfect tense is formed. And we'll look at several uses of the past perfect and conditions in which we use past perfect tense, and look at examples. And then you, the students, will try some out, let it fly. Try to make some examples and I'll correct you. I'll help you out with that. Good morning. Oh, whoops. Ariella. Ariella, are you there?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. I have problem with my connection.
Yeah. Seem to be in now. That's great. Welcome to the class. Good to see you again. Nice to have you aboard. I'd also like to welcome Alejandro. Hey, Alejandro. Are you there? Are you in? What's going on with connections and such?
I don't know.
I don't either. Yeah. Let's try again. Alejandro. Good evening. Hello? Can you hear me okay? Alejandro? Okay. Well, okay. Hopefully he'll get it together. Welcome to the class, Xingyu.
Hello, teacher. Long time no see. You are
Yeah.
still handsome.
Yeah. Well, that's debatable. But hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Where have you
are
been?
very clever.
Where have you been? I haven't seen you in months.
I'm very great. I'm wonderful.
You're vulnerable. You're vulnerable or you're wonderful?
Oh, I am wonderful.
Wonderful. Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear you're not vulnerable.
I don't know this word.
Vulnerable? That means you're easily hurt. If you're vulnerable, you would be easy to hurt. Okay, so I'm glad you're not vulnerable. All right.
For me. Thank you.
Okay, well, welcome to the class. All right, let's get started. Alejandro, are you in?
Hello, teacher.
Hello. There we go. All right, now you're here. We can start. Great. Okay, I'm gonna do a screen share with you guys, and then we're gonna talk about the past perfect verb tense. Okay. This is what it looks like. Quite simple, actually. We have a helper verb or auxiliary, had. It's always had. You don't have to worry about tricky verb conjugations here. Simply always had, and the past participle version of the verb. So it looks something like this. You, subject noun, had studied English, object noun. Now we've got a little time phrase. Looky here. Before you moved to New York. All right. When we form the question in the past perfect, of course, as we always do, we are going to reverse or transpose the auxiliary verb and the subject noun. So had you instead of you had. Had you studied English before you moved to New York? Okay, that's it. And in the negative form, you had not studied. Okay, not will follow the first auxiliary. There's only one auxiliary helper verb in the past perfect. Some other verb tenses will require more than one auxiliary verb, but it's always the same in English. The first auxiliary goes first in a question, and not will follow the first auxiliary. So you had not studied English before you moved to New York. All right, what's going on here? Well, let's take a look at the first and probably most common use. We're talking about a completed action before something in the past. Okay, so the past perfect expresses something happened before another action or before another specific time in the past. So looking at this little diagrammy thing here. Okay, let me try to explain this diagram. The circle represents the use of the past perfect tense. It comes before the X, which represents either another action in the past, completed action in the past, or possibly a specific time mentioned in the same sentence. Notice the little orange circle oval type thing surrounding the past perfect circle. It may not be necessary to know exactly when this happened in the past before the X, just that it in fact did happen before. So it may not be detailed exactly when, but we know it happened again, before, which is why we see the word before in so many of the sentences. Okay, let's look at some examples, and then we'll give it a shot. Okay, I, subject noun, I had never seen such a beautiful beach before I went to Kauai. Okay, he had never, okay, it can be negative. He had never seen a beautiful beach. The circle before he went, notice, is in past simple tense. Before he went to Kauai, that's the X here. All right. So it can be negative, obviously. Here we have an adverb. Notice placement of the adverb in front of the verb. Okay, here's another example. Now, the past perfect in a compound sentence or a complex sentence, a sentence made of two separate clauses, could appear in the first clause, as in the first example, or the second clause. For example, I did not have any money. Again, simple past, did not have, or simple past is indicated by did. I did not have any money because I had lost my wallet. So it's obvious from use of past perfect that the speaker lost their wallet first, and then the result, obviously they didn't have any money. So he had lost his money before. All right, so because is another word that we often use with past perfect to join our clauses. Tony knew Istanbul so well because he had visited the city several times. Excuse me. All right, so here he had visited the city several times. Okay, so I don't know, maybe our little circle could be 1, 2, 3 circles. We don't know. Again, we don't know exactly when. I'm looking at this orange oval. All right. Question form. Had Susan ever studied Thai before she moved to Thailand. Again, placement of the adverb in front of the verb. Notice that. Okay, basically same thing over and over again. Often using because and before. And with the negatives, we were not able. Okay. We were not able to get a hotel room because we had not booked in advance. All right, that action happening before. Two actions in the past. That's the bottom line here. One thing to notice in normal spoken English. Okay, this is in the form of a dialogue. First, a question: had you ever visited the U.S. before your trip in 2006? Okay, a specific time mentioned in the past. Notice the answer: yes, I had been to the U.S. once before. Notice, because we've already spoken the time is already known. All right, so in a dialogue, you may not need to see this purple X. You may not need to repeat this specific time in the past or this action. Not just in a dialogue, it's extremely common in dialogue, but even in written material. You may have an entire sentence. I saw Susan yesterday. I mean, an entire paragraph. The first sentence may be, okay, I saw Susan yesterday. She said she had been to Spain last year. She had also gotten a new job, and she had a baby. She had a baby 3 months ago. Okay, I can add lots of information. All right, but I have at some point previously declared my purple X, my time in the past. Maybe I can add subsequent information about things that happened before that. That's okay. I would continue to use the past perfect. All right, let's give this a shot. All right, we're going to try using these examples to make some sentences about two things happening in the past, one before the other. Okay, Ariella, you were first in, so you get the honors.
Okay, I need to ask Anna a question, right?
Sure. No, you can do, I don't care. You can do make a statement, a question form, a negative, doesn't matter, whatever you want to do.
Okay. Have you ever visited some country in Europe?
Okay. All right. Hang on a second. Oh, well, this is obviously...
It's bad.
What?
No, it's okay.
Well, actually, it's not really okay. First of all, we've got have instead of had, and we don't have any, we only have one thing happening in the past, and this is actually related to yesterday's lesson, Ariella, and this would have to be, have you ever visited some country? Yeah, so we don't have two times in the past, so we really can't use past perfect without a reference to some other action or a specific time in the past. Let's see if we can change this.
Okay.
Okay, let's change our auxiliary verb. Had you ever visited some country
In Europe before to visit Spain?
Before, well, we need a subject noun.
You
Or
visit.
you. Okay, before you, all right, notice, excuse me, pardon me, when we have okay, you have two actions, She only understood the movie because she had read the book. So the other verb in the other clause is simple past. So
Before you had visited.
no, because past perfect has to be this circle. So that's the had visited.
Mm-hmm.
The X is visited, just simple past. Okay? So it would have to be like
Okay.
this. Before you visited Spain.
Okay.
Probably as well, I probably wouldn't say some country. That's awkward. Probably a better quantifier here would be, have you ever visited any country in Europe before you visited Spain?
Okay.
Now, here we go. Now, this is okay.
Oh, okay.
All right?
Was
Okay.
difficult.
Yeah, it's a little difficult. It's okay. We have to make mistakes to learn. It's all right. No worries. It helps. It helps to make mistakes. It helps me. It helps the other students. So no worries. Xingyu, you want to give this a try?
Teacher Oakley had ever taught many students before he moved to the Wolverine.
And what?
Teacher Oakley had taught
Oh, okay.
many students
Gotcha.
before he moved to the Wolverine. I had watched many videos he made in the Wolverine before I joined this lesson.
Oh, okay. Since it's a promo, I'll continue.
I found he is
Okay.
a Wolverine.
Oh, I'd watched many videos before I joined. Okay.
Before I joined this class.
Okay.
I had watched many videos he made.
Okay. All right. Well, that's enough. I don't need you to write a novel. That's okay. But thank you. Thank you for the promotion. Thanks for the commercial.
It's very kind of you. You are welcome.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. Okay, is this okay? Well, yes, in fact it is. He's got, all right, our past perfect circle had taught before he moved, simple past. Okay, and true enough, I had watched many videos before I joined his class. All right, that's great. That all works. All right. Now, another thing I had mentioned earlier, that if we are all referencing back the same time or the same action, we can continue to use past perfect. But Xingyu introduces a new action in his second sentence, so he would have to reintroduce the past perfect here, which he did correctly. That is totally correct. Okay. Okay, good job. Alejandro, you want to give this a try?
Okay. I had a dog when I was younger.
Huh. Okay. I had a dog when I was younger. Okay. Okay. Now this is a little strange here. because younger is not a very specific time. I know when we get older, it seems like a specific time, but it's really not. It's not specific enough. Okay, it's not like this X, wham, we know exactly when it is. It's not an exact time, or it's not a specific, certainly it's not an action. So in this case, it would actually be okay to just use simple, because it's, I had a dog when I was younger. It would be okay to just use simple simple tense, because this is just, okay, a finished action that happened in the past. All right. It's okay. It is okay to use had, by the way. Had is the auxiliary, and then the past participle had as the main verb. But I need some kind of more definite time, and I can't say when as well, because when would mean basically at the same time. At the same time I was younger, I had a dog. The idea here, the whole idea is that one thing definitely happened before the other. See, in your sentence here, these things are happening at the same time. It's seemingly. You had a dog, you were younger, both at exactly the same time. So that's why we keep saying before and because. Okay. So we kind of have to change this a little, probably using before. Before I had a dog before. I don't know.
Before the accident.
Not married.
Yeah, not married. What's that, Alejandro?
Before the accident.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Before
Okay.
I got married.
Well, that would work too. I had a dog before I got married. Before the accident, the problem with this, okay, let me just address this. Before I got married would definitely work. Whoops, before the accident, because we don't know when the accident happened. Had a dog before the accident, okay, in 2006. Whatever, now that would make sense. Of course, that we end up with a weird sentence. It sounds like you had some kind of accident with your dog. But anyway, well, dog accidents happen, I guess. Now that would actually make sense. It's got to be, you know, this. If you think about it, the X, the other thing that the action or time you're referencing in the past has to be specific enough so it's clear that one happened before the other. That has to be quite clear.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's continue and look at another use. Duration before something in the past. All right. Well, now we have to look at crazy non-continuous verbs. All right. Well, this is a pain in the neck. But, okay, in this case, there are verbs which we call non-continuous verbs and other ones which we may refer to as mixed verbs. These are usually non-continuous verbs are also called stative verbs. Stative, state. They show a state. So a state is the way things are. The sky is blue. Xinyu says, I am handsome. Okay, well, there you go. That's the verb to be. That's my state of being, handsomeness. So that is a state. That is the way things are. I can't say I am being handsome. That doesn't make sense. It's just simply the way it is. I can't say the sky is being blue. All right, so the verb to be itself is actually a mixed verb. If I talk about a state, I can't say the sky is being blue, but I can say my daughter is being a brat. She is acting like a brat. She's acting. That's now dynamic. It's an action. She's misbehaving. She's acting badly. She's being bad, being naughty. Okay, in that case, now that's why we call it a mixed verb. It's possible to use it to describe an action or a state. That's what mixed verbs mean. All right? So some verbs, many verbs actually, can be used different ways. And when we're talking about the way things are, a state, then we can't use a continuous verb form, which is the ing. I am teaching. That's present continuous. ing form. I can't use that. I mean, I can say I am teaching, but I can't use a continuous verb form for a stative verb. Some verbs are just always non-continuous because they're always stative. Verbs like love, hate, like. Okay. Seem. All right. Something seems. That's the state it's in. We use the verb seem. He seems angry. All right. It looks like his state is anger. I can't say he is seeming angry. Never. So some verbs are always non-continuous or stative. Anyway, instead of using past perfect continuous, sometimes I just have to use past perfect because the verb in question, the main verb, cannot be continuous, period. So I have to just use plain past perfect. For example, well, here's had. There you go. Alejandro. We had that car for 10 years. Even though it's quite obvious from this time phrase for 10 years that there's duration here before it broke down. Okay, I just simply cannot say we had been having that car for 10 years. Possession, verbs that show possession, have, own. Okay, that is a state. You own your car, that is a state of being, that is just considered a state. It's not dynamic, there's no motion, there's no action. So the verb have itself, okay, is a mixed verb. I can say I am having a party Saturday. All right, that would be an action I'm going to do. But ownership is a state. So here you go. So instead of saying we had been having that car for 10 years, I have to just use past perfect. And here's the next one with the verb to be I already talked about. By the time Alex finished his studies, again, simple past in this clause, he had been in London for over 8 years. Notice that we're including these time phrases here that show duration. This is to help you understand that. And we would often do this. This would be common because we want to make it clear. We want to clarify that this really is duration. This really takes place over time. Ownership. I just mentioned this. Okay. They felt bad about selling the house because they had owned it for more than 40 years. Again, I just simply can't say they had been owning it. Okay, here's a weird thing that you absolutely have to know. This will confuse you when you run into this unless you know this. So pay attention. We have some weird exceptions in English. No, teacher, not weird exceptions. That never happens in English. Well, yeah, it does. Okay, we have a few words in particular, live, work, teach, and study, are sometimes used with past perfect instead of past perfect continuous, even though they can be continuous verbs, but we use them to mean duration. In other words, I can say equally validly, equally grammatically correct, I can say, okay, I had been living in the United States until 2006. Or I can say I had lived in the United States until 2006. Either one is perfectly correct. All right, so you can use them either way. Either way, it shows duration. These are just weird exception words. They can be continuous, but they can be used that way. Just these 4 specific words. All right, they're just weird exceptions. Okay, let's try. You can let's try making some sentences. You can use any of these words: live, work, teach, study. You can use have or be or own, or you can use another stative verb: love, hate, like. All right, let's give this a try. Yes? Xingyu, you want to try it first?
I want to be the first person.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure. No problem.
I had studied English for 12 years.
For what? 30 years?
12.
12?
12.
12. Okay.
12 years.
Uh-huh.
Until I joined the Wolverine.
Okay, but all right, let's write this in.
But my English is not good.
Wait. Until I joined verbally. Okay, now careful here. You're almost right. Okay. You've got until here. All right, that would mean what you're saying in this actual sentence is you studied English. This is actually not incorrect. This grammatically speaking, this is correct. But I'll tell you what this means. This means that you studied English for 12 years until you joined Verbling. You joined Verbling and you stopped studying English.
I should change until into before.
Yeah, probably, because I think you still study English. All right. Yeah, there you go. Very good. Yes, now that is correct. That is showing exactly what we're trying to do. Show duration with past perfect. That's exactly right. Okay, good job. Okay, Alejandro, you want to give this a try?
Okay. I had been working for a big Japanese company 4 years ago.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, first of all, you have a past perfect continuous form. All right, but work is one of these weird exceptions. So you could also say I had worked. Either one would be correct. Okay. I had worked for a big Japanese company 4 years ago. Okay. Again, you have this slight problem with. Does this work? Hang on a second. I think you can just use simple past. I worked for a big Japanese company 4 years ago. Okay, to indicate this action is past and stopped. Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to change your sentence slightly. I worked for a big Japanese company. Up to 4 years ago. And then you stopped. Now, up by just changing this slightly and saying up to 4 years ago, now I've clearly made the X. All right, now I know exactly exactly when. Now I have two specific, well, one action and one specific time. Okay. It would. All right, so that's clearer why we would use. That's clearer why we need to use past perfect there. All right. And either of these, again, because you're using these exception words, it could be, you could use past perfect continuous. I had been studying English. I had been working. Either one is actually correct, depending on what you feel like or what the speaker feels like. It doesn't really matter. Ariella.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, ready? You want to give it a try?
Before I came to USA, I had not been in a country where people speak English.
I had not been good.
In a country.
Whoops. Been in a country.
Yes. Where people speak English.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Before, one little problem. Same problem you had last time, Ariella. Before I come, what's the matter with this? Yeah. It has to be came.
Came.
It has to be
I
clear.
try it, but I don't know pronounce in the correct.
Okay. Now this is correct. Well, this is still not correct, but my mistake, not yours. Before I came to the USA, you have a subordinate clause first. I need a comma here.
Yes.
That was my fault. Before I came to USA, I had not been in a country where people speak English. Okay, that's very good. Okay, that's an excellent sentence. Ariella, where are you from?
I'm from Chile.
Chile, okay. Terrific. Are you in the USA now?
Yes.
Cool. Whereabouts?
I am working at National Institute of Health in Bethesda, in Maryland.
In Maryland, Bethesda. Oh, okay. Groovy. Okay. Well, say hello to all my American friends for me.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, let me welcome Oscar to the class. Hello, Oscar. How are you?
Hello, fine, and you?
I'm good, good. Thanks. Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Oscar, I saw you kind of bounce in and out, but I'm glad you made it in. I'm not sure if you had time to see what we were trying to do here. Using a past perfect to show duration of time before something else. Did you have a chance to see what? Did you watch it all before you joined?
Yes.
Okay, you want to give this a try?
Yes.
All right, cool. Excellent. All right. Have at it. Go ahead.
Before I started learning English, I had take classes with a private teacher.
Excuse me. Sorry. Okay, wait a minute. All right, Oscar, wait a second. Before I started, all right, past tense, that's right. Learning, we got a gerund. Okay. Before I started learning English, we're okay so far. I had,
Taken.
it would have to be past.
Taken.
That's right, past participle. I had taken
Yes.
classes.
Yes, it's taken, yes.
Okay. But still, this is a little bit weird, Oscar, I have to tell you. You taking classes with a private teacher before you started to learn English?
Yes.
So your private teacher was worthless.
Maybe before I started to learn English in Berkeley.
Yeah, that would seem more logical. Maybe, I don't know. Oscar, do you mean your teacher was worthless? He couldn't teach you anything?
Yes.
Okay, then. Well, all right then. Okay, I had taken classes with a, here we go, let's make it clearer, with a useless private teacher.
Yes. Yes.
There you go. All right, well, that just makes it a little bit clearer. Okay.
Oh, I don't know what mean useless. Now I know.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that's what we're here to do, learn. Okay, now wait a minute.
So you are a good teacher.
I hope so. I hope that's what we can infer. Okay, I had taken classes with a useless private teacher. Okay, can I say I had been taking classes? I probably can. I can probably use, actually, okay, let me show you something. This is actually a great example because I can show you guys something. I had been taking, here I'm going to use past perfect continuous. I had been taking classes with a useless private teacher. But let me change something slightly. Let me change it back to simple, I'm not simple, but past perfect. How about if I change this a little bit, and instead of plural, which classes would probably mean duration over time, so I would want to use the ing form. But if I change this a little to show like a one-time action, I had taken a class. Now that makes sense to use past perfect because that's a bam, one-time action, one class. Okay, we can think of that as a one-time action, and now it would actually make sense because it wouldn't seem, you know, classes seems like, well, we took more than one, then that obviously took time and duration. All right. Okay, so that's a little trick there that you may see. If you have kind of repeated actions, you may instead choose to use continuous tense. But if it's just a one-time action, that's when you would use past perfect. Okay. Here is another important note, important commercial message. Specific times with past perfect. Okay, totally unlike yesterday's lesson, present perfect, it is possible to use specific time words or phrases with the past perfect. Although it is possible, it's not usually necessary. If you remember, okay, way back in the beginning of class, when we looked at our first diagram, the circle representing the past perfect was in the orange oval. So we don't know exactly when it happened before the other action. We just know it did happen before the other action. Okay. The point that we're looking at now, it is possible to say exactly when. Okay. For example, she had visited her Japanese relatives once in 1993. Well, there it is. Before she moved in with them in 1996. Okay, we still have that purple X, that time in the past, and we know that this action happened before that. And in this case, we've defined when. It is not necessary. Again, it's not necessary, but it is possible. Unlike present perfect, we can't do this with the present perfect. It just wouldn't work. Okay. Moreover, another point. Okay. If the past perfect action did occur at a specific time, the simple past can be used instead of the past perfect. When? Before or after is used in the sentence. Why? Because before or after actually explains the whole time sequence thing. Okay? Two actions or an action that happened before a date. If I use before or after, I can use the words themselves, before and after, to show the sequence, show what happens first. For this reason, both of these sentences would be considered correct. Let me show you. She had visited her Japanese relatives once in 1993 before she moved in with them in 96. Or she visited, simple past, because we have a specific time. All right, so there are times, I think I was dealing with this with a couple of Alejandro's examples. I was kind of waiting to get to this part of the material, this part of the lesson plan, to show you this. All right? So if we're going to actually say exactly when something happened, it's not necessary to use past perfect, but it's also not wrong. All right. Okay. It's kind of the tricky thing about past perfect. There are times when I can use just simple past, and it's okay. There are times when I can use past perfect or past continuous with work, teach, learn, and live, those 4 verbs. And it's okay. All right? So past perfect, sometimes you have options, and it's your choice. Dun, dun, dun. And now the other shoe drops. However, okay. If the past perfect is not referring to an action at a specific time, past perfect is not optional. All right, back to our original diagram. If you recognize this from the first usage. Okay, here we're going to look at some examples where the past perfect refers to a lack of experience rather than an actual action, a dynamic physical action at a specific time. Simple past cannot be used. For example, she never saw a bear. That's an experience. Negatively, she did not have this experience. She never saw a bear before she moved to Alaska. That is not correct. I can't do that. It's well, never obviously is not a specific time, clearly. Okay, I would definitely have to say she had never seen a bear before she moved to Alaska. Okay, she moved to Alaska, that's the purple X. And of course, never, obviously this orange circle would stretch from the purple X into the infinite past and beyond, because we obviously don't know, never's a long, long time. Okay, so obviously that's not a clear time. All right. Okay. So you often see this, by the way. This is a common kind of sentence to say an experience that you never had, and then you mention when you had it, either the time or the action. All right, this is very common use for past perfect. It would always come out this way. So you have to do this. You have to use past perfect. She had never seen a bear. I had never jumped out of a plane before yesterday. Ah, no, I didn't really. Adverb placement. During the lesson, we've seen this a couple times. Okay. One word about adverb placement. You see it here. You had previously studied. Earlier we saw never, again, in front of the verb, the main verb, that is. I think we'd seen never and ever and one or two others. It is normal and always correct, of course, if the adverb is acting on the verb. If you mean these to go together. If your adverb is acting on the verb, it's pretty much always correct to put it here. There are times you can move the adverb around to the beginning of the sentence or the end of the sentence. The problem is, with that, this is safe, all right? Putting the adverb in front of the verb, putting the adverb in the front or the back of the sentence or after the verb sometimes, it may be perfectly okay, all right? Depends on the adverb, and you have to learn kind of individual adverbs. Sometimes it can be, you can move it around anywhere and that's perfectly fine. Other times, when you start moving that adverb around, it can change the meaning of the sentence. It can change what the sentence means, depending on the meaning of the adverb itself. All right, so that's a lesson or a series of lessons for another day, honestly, but just briefly, it's safe if you're going to use an adverb to put it here in front of the verb. Again, if it's working on the verb. All right. Before I let you go, I would like to show you and practice with you the active and passive, the passive form. All right, in an active sentence, the subject noun does the action. George had repaired. What did he repair? The object, many cars. Before he received his mechanic's license. Terrific, no problem. In a passive sentence, notice that we're going to take the object noun, many cars, and move it over here and make it the subject. In a passive sentence, the action happens to the subject. Many cars had been repaired by George. Okay, I just adding a prepositional phrase. It's just added information. It's not really necessary in the sentence. Okay. And then the rest before he received his mechanic's license. Okay, so we still have to have that blue X, that past action, and one thing happens before that past action. That doesn't change. It's the same in passive. The passive tense is, again, formed with had, of course, and then the past participle of the verb to be. And the verb, past participle of your main verb. Let's try this out. Let's see if we can. Let's see if we can do this. Let's give it a shot. Alejandro, you want to try this one? Passive. See if you can make a passive sentence. Had been something. Alejandro, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Passive.
Yeah.
Many people had been indoctrinated by Hitler, Adolf Hitler.
Okay. Okay. Now we need our other something that happened in the past, but closer to now. So maybe before what?
Before the Second World War.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. That works, and that is passive. Great. The action is happening to the people. They're getting themselves indoctrinated. Okay. That's it. Very good. Ariella.
Yes. She had been cooking Chinese food. Later, she had known a Chinese friend.
Whoa, you lost me. What? She had been cooking Chinese food.
Yes.
Foof. Chinese foof. Food.
Food.
Yeah.
Later, she had known.
What? I'm very confused, Ariella.
Oh, yes. She had known a Chinese friend.
Okay. I kind of get the idea now. All right. We may have to rework this. First of all, she did the action, and this is continuous tense. Past perfect continuous. She had been cooking Chinese food. Okay. Later. Okay. Well. Okay. Well, it's going to be hard to use later. Okay, and it's impossible. Here's another thing. It's impossible to use two past perfects in one sentence because one thing has to happen before the other.
Okay.
Okay. So I can't do that. First of all, that's one no. That's impossible. Secondly, this is active. All right. I would have to say, to make this passive, I would have to say Chinese food had been cooked by her.
Wow.
Okay. Which is a little weird, but grammatically correct. Chinese food had been cooked by her. Okay. And then probably before, because this has to happen first.
Okay.
Okay. Before she knew, or before she, do you mean she knew how to cook Chinese food before she met any Chinese people? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. How about met? How about we do that? How about that? Okay. Would that work for you? Chinese food had been cooked by her before she met any Chinese people. Now, grammatically speaking, this is correct. But of course, making an active sentence here would probably make more sense. Why? Okay. Sometimes we use a passive. Why do we use passive in the first place? Well, there's a couple reasons. Maybe we don't we simply don't care who does the action because we're giving instructions or something like that. Maybe it's obvious. He was fined $100 for speeding. Well, we know everybody knows that the court fines you for speeding, or the police, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Maybe it's obvious. Maybe it doesn't matter. Or possibly we're trying to emphasize it's more important the Chinese food rather than her. And it's much more important to you, the speaker, the Chinese food. Oopsie. Okay. I see that we are actually out of time. I have to go because I have to start another class here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bye-bye, teacher.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye, and thank you guys very much. I hope you learned a little bit about past perfect tense, and you guys have a great day. I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Bye for now.